Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hit It podcast. Super excited to have this guest in the virtual studio here today, and it is Jimmy Siemers. Jimmy, welcome to the podcast.
Mr. Boyd, thank you for having me, buddy. How are you?
Oh, doing well, Jimmy. This is going to be super fun. Obviously, we're here to recap your Hall of Fame career as you are an inductee this year to the Hall of Fame. When you hear those words, what goes through your mind?
Well, I honestly was like, well, I don't think I'm old enough, right? um, but yeah, I guess I kind of did retire. It's certainly an incredible honor, and I'm very lucky and excited for this occasion.
Well, we're pumped up for you, and it does. It's like, how did it go by that fast? It's like I remember being a junior right behind you, watching you go through the ranks, just waiting for you to take that next jump set or that next trick set. And here we are talking about your career. And that's where I want to start the podcast. Want to go and recap pretty much start to finish everything that you were able to accomplish in your career, because it's an unbelievable career, Jimmy. I mean, and it goes all the way back to Marshalltown, Iowa, and you getting started at the age of 4. Tell us how it all got started.
Yeah, that's essentially it. It actually goes back further because you have to look at my grandparents who really got us into this. I know they skied in Tennessee quite a bit. As my dad was growing up, my dad skied a little bit competitively. I think his best jump was like 129. He got into 28 off, and then he quit trick skiing the first term I skied in because I beat his PB. So he had he gave away trick skiing a little bit early, but yeah, man, living in Iowa obviously was a difficult start. The lake freezes over and it's cold and windy, and the winters are long. But we were fortunate enough to have a lake house, and so in the summer, my mom would take us down, and we'd essentially spend the summer there. My dad had to go to work, so he would take off. I think, if I remember right, it's Tuesday night. We'd ski with him Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and then he'd go back to work. So, yeah, we had a place on Ponderosa, and I think there was a knee boarder that came out of there as well. Ted Aqua,
Okay.
I believe, came out of there. So same lake. I mean, just you're talking. There's 300 houses on the lake. There's not a course. There's not a ramp. There's none of that, right? This is like people are tubing and there's jet skis while you're skiing, and the fishermen are mad at you. When you're out there at 6:30 a.m. trying to get some turns in before the other boaters get out there.
Sure. So let's talk about that, because adverse conditions growing up in the Midwest. I mean, Midwest skiers, very, very tough. I mean, you have a short season in Iowa, so you have to make sure you get all your ski rides in before it gets too cold. Is that one of the reasons why? Because I mean, early in your career, boys one, I'm looking at it. You were the Midwest trick record holder with 1,990 points. Did you gravitate early to tricks?
Yeah, I think so, because we didn't really see. I rarely saw a slalom course. The only time I saw a slalom course was going to a tournament, and same thing with jumping. We didn't have a ramp, so for me, I think tricks came first, and also there was influence from Bill Peterson, the father. I mean, he ran Peterson Ski School, father of Kyle Peterson.
I remember that. Yeah.
World trick champion, and he said, if you're going to spend time, do it on tricks right now. And so, that's what we did. I would go down to Peterson's maybe, a week or two a year, and, grab some information and come back home and try to apply it.
Wow. Yeah. I haven't heard that name Peterson in a long time, but
No,
that
right?
brings a lot of good memories back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I even remember some of those masters back in the late 90s where he was still skiing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly an influence on me. I mean, I got to sit there when I was like 14-ish, 15, and watch him like invent stuff. It was amazing. Wow. Yeah, I had a really good experience.
What was he one of the first skiers that used the toe hold harness that without a handle? I'm trying to remember.
He might have been. I think you're right on that.
Okay.
I do think you're right on that.
Well, that kind of leads us to where we're going through your career. I mean, boys one, you're off to a fast start, right? Now
Well,
you enter in.
minus the slalom, obviously.
Well, we'll catch up with slalom a little bit later. But you're in boys 2, boys 3, right? And you're taking down records left and right in the jump division and in the trick division. And then obviously being an overall skier. I mean, you go on to have some incredible accomplishments and overall, not only through the juniors division, but all the way through your career into the elite ranks and breaking world record. I wanted to get your perspective. You're looking up to some people here. It sounds like Kyle Peterson was one of those people. But are you looking at this already as a junior going, man, I could maybe make a run at this as a career? Or are you just trying to go to tournaments and ski the best you can?
Well, I mean, let's talk about so you're saying boys 2, boys 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it started before that. It started like hot summer nights.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, like that's when that idea started. I think 7, 8 years old was kind of the start as a career path for me. So I mean, it wasn't like I just got lucky. Like I wanted this from the beginning.
Okay, so the seed was planted to become a professional skier, 7, 8 years old, hot summer nights. Wayne Grimdage, Dan Debenham, all those guys announcing.
Exactly. And I mean, you have like Dina Maple dominating, and Andy was killing it. Wade. I mean, so many like idols there. Sammy, Carl. I mean, just phenomenal. Like, I think my dad saw it as well, and he's kind of the engineer behind this whole thing. Like I got to tell him, hey, I want to do this. I want to be really good at this. And then, he kind of engineered a plan, and we rolled with it.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Jimmy. I did not know that the seed was planted that young. I mean, it's very rare to find athletes of your caliber that really have the vision that early. I mean, it happens. I mean, Tiger Woods, obviously, those types of things, and we hear those stories. But to have that type of vision so young, I guess you already have kind of the roadmap in which you're willing to follow going into the upper boys divisions. Now, you're doing things as a junior skier that no one had ever seen before. And this is right when tricks is evolving. I mean, we're maybe seeing 2 flips out of boys 2, maybe one, but really none. I mean, we're at Wake 5 fronts, those types of things. You're one of the first guys to bring a full series of flips to a run in the junior division. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, I think, again, we're going to go way back because I started doing gymnastics when I was like 5 or something like that. Yeah. So that was that's a way long time ago. And I kept up with gymnastics until I was like 15, 16. And even the end of my gymnastics was me on the trampoline. I wouldn't do rings. I wouldn't do bars. I just wanted to play and do flips. So literally tie a handle up to the ceiling and just go play for 2 hours on a trampoline. It started, I think that was kind of the basis of it was gymnastics. And then man, you want to hear the story about how I learned flips?
Oh, absolutely.
I guess like the first one I tried to flip with Camilo. Actually, no, I got to rewind because boys won nationals at the end of my run at Corey's on their last lake. I threw mob front to front, was my first flip ever. And I came up just short of it.
Wow.
And I mean, I just hucked something, right? Like I had no clue what I was doing, just hucked it.
So mob front to front just because of the gymnastic experience, or
I mean, I guess so. It's just what made sense in my head. So I almost kind of made it, and then I left it alone. I started skiing with Camilo. We'll have to get into that at some point, but skied with Camilo a little bit. He taught me a flip. It took me, I mean, I went out, I did one try, and he's like, hold on, no, come back. We went back to the dock. He hung a rope up from the ceiling, showed me, what I needed to do, went out, and I made my second one.
Okay.
So you might go, oh man, talented. Well, it took me 2 years to learn the second one. I couldn't do it to save my life. It made no sense to me. And then I went to, let's see, Camilo was working at Corey's that year. And I think I was 14. And I went to Corey's, and all of a sudden, Camilo taught me a second flip, a third flip, a fourth flip, a fifth flip, and sixth, all in the span of like 3 days. I went boom, 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 boom. Wow. Okay, I got it. Yeah. So I went from, a couple backflips to having like a full professional run, or, on my way to having that, it
What do you think it was? I mean, like 3 days, that's so quick. Was it just something triggered that, hey, I need to cut this way, I need to turn my
right.
body?
Exactly, just where to be in space, and how to load and when to release a little. And, I just, not that they were great flips, but, I was making them.
Sure.
I actually have to back up. I made front flip when I was 10. I think
Okay.
I gave myself so many black eyes and bloody noses trying to land that stupid thing. But no, I landed it at like at a teen camp, like at I think, I want to say Cindy Benzel was in the boat, or Dave, one of them. There's like, holy cow, this kid just made a front flip.
Well, it just for our listeners to go back when that was, we're talking, early to mid 90s. I mean, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so
early
it,
90s.
yeah, I mean, you're coming off of the 80s, kind of where maybe Corey has one flip, but,
Right,
7 front to fronts in a run or something like that. And so
right.
flips are coming into the run, and juniors aren't really doing them yet. And I remember back then, Jimmy, it was like you'd go to ski schools too, and the advice to do a flip was like, well, you just got to go out and try them. And what do? Get
Yeah,
black eyes, right? Like
right.
it wasn't very
Exactly.
good.
Exactly.
So to get it all figured out, where you have this whole series of flips in a run, now you're on this incredible pace, right? Because
Right.
you have basically a professional run of what Trix ends up evolving into as far as a program's concerned. By the time you get out of boys 3, you're the record holder at 10,350 points, which is absolutely unheard of. And at that
Yeah.
time, that gets you into the finals
Yeah,
at major events.
right. That puts you on the podium. Or not always on the podium, depending on where it is. But yeah, I mean, that was up there at the time. And I think I had the record at 10.6, but somebody stood up in front of the camera,
Oh
so
no.
I couldn't get a time on it.
That
But
was back in the day when we used to have actually the trick horn, and you'd have
right.
to film with the camera on your shoulder.
Exactly, that's it. And so, I mean, that happened, but no biggie. um
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
So, but you're carrying all 3 events here. So Trix is obviously on the upswing. We're going to talk about jump in just a moment. Tell us about your slalom journey though, because to be an overall skier, you got to have all 3. And
Yeah.
you had to get that event to a point where, it wasn't going to hurt you. It may not help you like Trix and jump was going to help you,
Right.
but I mean, you skied really, really good on some slalom. Tell us about that journey.
I mean, I think as a kid I didn't enjoy it that much. It wasn't my thing. I would sing while slaloming. I get bored. I don't know, it just was not my honestly, man, that's even up to like,
What song were you singing?
I don't even remember, just whatever was in my head. But I mean, all the way to like 14 years old, I'd just be out there like la di da, whatever. Um, and I mean, I think the biggest thing in my slalom was I never slalomed well at a Worlds. I mean, that's like something that always irks me. And I never had a record, like an overall record or anything, where my slalom was strong. Is like, I mean, we'll talk about one point, but 1.5 at 35 at Worlds in '03 that's rough.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's unfortunate because I mean, there's so many times where I'm like running 38 pretty solid, which was okay back then. I was getting a couple of 39, but it just never showed in a tournament. I mean, it
Yeah.
did in tournaments, but not in the majors for some reason. I mean, even Austria, I think I missed the handle coming out of 4 ball at 35. And that morning I had run 38 in blinding rain. I couldn't even see what I was doing and ran it.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's like kind of one of those things. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
You got to be kidding me.
You got to be
Well,
kidding me.
I mean, but the other
But
events were always so strong. I mean, that was the
right.
thing. I mean, the jump and the trick and that combination. We'll talk about some of your competitors that you end up meeting down the road. I mean, that was kind of the story with somebody like Jarrett Llewellyn as well, right? I mean, the tricks and jump and those types of things. But let's go to jump now,
All right.
because I remember distinctively being at the Lakes of Cypress Hill around 1997,
I have a
98.
I have a photo of that set. I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we are
Yeah.
like, I mean, the main event is Jimmy Siemers boys 3 jump, and we're sitting on the side just waiting for you to come in, because again, at that time, you're jumping consistently 180s. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you're just not missing, and it's all
Right.
three are really, really good. You hold the record at 189. Tell us a little bit about that, because it really seemed at one portion of your career in juniors like jump just got figured out, and when you figured it out, it just kept going bigger and bigger.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly like put in the time and the effort to make that happen, because there was a summer or two where I was living in Houston at not Cyprus, that's where you live.
Yeah.
At Terramare with the
Yep,
Winds.
with the wins.
And Camilo was there, and his whole crew, the Wilson boys,
Yep.
just Matt Kermy, always,
Kerm dog.
the
Yep.
Kermies were always there. But man, they just had this headwind every day at 4 o'clock. It was just phenomenal. This light little breeze would come in crosshead, and it would be like, all right, jump 30. And I mean, I would take 3 sets. So I'd take 15 jumps. Um, I remember, I think the summer you're talking about, I don't think I passed the whole year. Like,
Wow.
I certainly didn't pass at Terramare. I mean, I hit the ramp every single time, 15 times a day. And so, yeah, I mean, we had it pretty figured out. And then I had perfect conditions. I mean, it was just, that place was unreal for jump.
Yeah, and where we were skiing then at Terramare, it's a 2-lake site, and so you would
Right.
start on one lake, go off the dock, you would circle around, and then come back on lake 2. And I always thought this was amazing. I've told you this before, but typically the mentality of a jumper, you kind of want to ski by the ramp. You want to see, oh, is there a turtle on the ramp? Is there anything
Yeah.
in my way? It would be 7:30 in the morning. You would take off from one lake, not ski by the ramp, come directly in with a full cut, and go 185 on your first jump at 7:30 a.m. I mean, it was insane
Yeah.
to think back at what you were doing. But talk to us a little bit about that, because you're skiing with Camilo, and Camilo's training you, and he's training you for all types of conditions, because
Right.
not only in jump, you're going to go to different sites. It's going to look different, but you may have different boat speeds and tricks. Tell us a little bit about that training
Right.
regimen.
Well, I mean, Camilo always kind of thought just randomly outside the box, hey, we should ski in rollers. We should ski in this stuff. And, who's to say you're not going to jump at 7:30 a.m. in a tournament? And he was right. We did it. I mean, I remember distinctly one of my best sets ever was in Russia. I jumped amazing, and it was like 8:30 in the morning. Everyone's
Wow.
complaining. I'm like, I can do this. you know, where Camilo used to live is just on this huge chain of lakes in Windermere, and you'll be going by and there's a wakeboard boat and someone's wake surfing, and there's just boat traffic everywhere. And Camilo's expectation is that doesn't matter. You just ski through it. Like, you don't stop your run. They're just rollers. Deal with it. Um, and that's obviously that translated across the world. Like, we skied in the middle of the ocean in Qatar or Qatar. I mean, there was like 3-foot waves coming up the ramp. So you were either hitting a 6-footer or a 3-foot ramp, and you wouldn't know, and I kind of got the vision to see that. And I won the first round, but then we scrapped the tournament, but I was super prepared for stuff like that. Like, I won jump, and I think I might've won tricks that year. I'm not sure, but he
And
always,
that's
yeah,
interesting to me, because it kind of goes back to the hot summer nights, right? When you were watching hot summer nights, that was anywhere, anytime.
right,
Those guys back then did not know what the conditions were going to be like.
right.
And so you're kind of into that mentality anyway, where, hey, if I'm going to
No, I mean,
ski, I don't know.
right. We did it. I mean, Austin well enough. We would go to Lake Austin and ride jumpers before Masters.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, we put in that little extra effort to make sure, that I was good to go.
That's
But
amazing, because, speaking of the Masters, obviously that tournament's going to be coming up in May. along with Moomba here in just a couple of
Right.
weeks.
Oh,
It's
I love Moomba. I wish I could go. I love
well,
that
we'll talk
tournament so
about
much.
Moomba.
Oh,
Well, you're training and you're trying to simulate what you're going to face, and it's near impossible, right? I mean, how do you
right.
simulate what you're going to face at Moomba or the Masters? But to go to a huge open lake in Austin, I never would have thought of that, but that is an
Yeah,
incredible
man.
technique.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it. I think we've done it on Lake Conroe as well. I think we need to do that, just to get a little,
Oh man.
mix it up a little.
Well, if all those South Central region or skiers that are listening to this podcast know about Lake
Yeah.
Conroe and riding jumpers, I
Yeah.
don't
There we
think you'll
go.
see me out there doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so here's the deal. On an individual level, you're breaking records left and right. You're clearly way ahead of the pack at a junior level. But what I also thought that was super cool during that time period was the junior U.S. teams you were a part of.
Right.
And those teams were anchored on the men's side by yourself, on the women's side by Regina Jaquez. And it was like the dream team of, the most elite skiing that, we've seen at a junior
Yeah.
level. Talk to us about those teams.
No, I mean, Reg and I, we put some work in. She's still going. She's a beast, huh? Like,
I mean, I think Regina easily could go another 10, 15 years at
right.
this
Like,
pace.
we'll see, we'll see. But no, it was, the U.S. junior team, it was such a small sport. Well, not such a small sport, but, you would see the same people all over the place. So, it was good because you got to travel around the world with these people that you know already and, get to hang out and share a passion. And it's crazy because, you see guys like Joey Blakely, like I haven't seen him in forever and saw him and reconnected with him. And, it's a lifelong thing where people tend to come back to this sport. And, I'm seeing some older names from US teams come back and starting to ski a little bit.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
noticed.
cool.
I saw that when you yourself have skied in an over 35 worlds. I think Joey came back to at
Right.
least the nationals, and I
Right.
think he won slalom and
He
then
skied
maybe
senior
skied
worlds.
and senior worlds. Okay.
Yeah. And he skied well there, I think. So
Very cool. Well,
yeah,
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is. I mean, those relationships of just, having the camaraderie of being on a team. And then obviously we always get back to this on the podcast. It's like a family sport, water skiing
right.
is an extension of your family. So very cool. But those
Exactly.
teams were solid. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys were winning
We
all the
did some
time.
winning. Yeah, we
You did
did.
some
We
winning.
were pretty good at that.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the deal. I wanted to get your take on that. So the dream had always been to be a professional water skier. You're
Yeah.
17, going on 18 years old. You're going out of the junior division. You're right where you need to be, right? Like your
Yeah, I was
scores
right.
are
I
really
was
good.
already kind of there. I was already pretty competitive. And like I wanted to hit the '01 Worlds in Italy, and I sprained my ankle pretty bad and had to take about 3 weeks off before it. And 9/11 it just happened, so we just scrapped '01 Worlds. But I was super ready for that.
Well,
Um,
and just to backtrack, let's talk about 2000 Tri Lakes and jump.
yeah,
Because
yeah, that
yeah,
was that.
because
Right.
you come out of a junior.
I
I mean,
know.
this is
I
incredible,
know.
Jimmy. This is incredible. You're holding the record at the upper 180s as a junior. So now
Yeah.
you've got to adjust the ramp. You're going to 6 foot. You're going 35 miles an hour. Tell us about your jumping because you end up breaking the world record literally a year after you're a junior.
Yeah. So I had finished high school and skied that summer. And then I wanted to take a little time off as I started. I guess I started at community college because I didn't know where I wanted to go. We got to get into college too, right?
Yeah, we got to talk about
We got to
college.
talk about college.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
the only
love
championship that
college.
ASU's ever had was with Jimmy Siemers. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about that.
So yeah, I mean, it's I think very late in that year, I took a set at Picos, is 6'35", and I'd never tried it before, right? Just Camilo threw me out there. Here you go, bud. Here's 6'35". And I had the most consistent set ever. I went 204 with my right tip down halfway, just sitting there going, oh God, the pucker moment. And then I did it again. Second jump, 204, right tip down. Third jump, 204 with my right tip down. Okay, I got an issue.
So was the issue that you just weren't bringing your right ski around enough, or what was going on with the right tip?
And it's just, I mean, just the way the ramp works, that different angle on your body, I had to adjust, and now we're smart enough to where we just inch the ramp up just ever so slightly, and like, the people barely feel it, but eventually, you're jumping 6 foot. I got thrown into the wild a bit, but that set made me think a little bit. And then I did one more tournament that fall, and I went 214, I think 214, something like that, or maybe 17, somewhere in there. And then I quit skiing for the year. I started playing racquetball with my buddy. Do you remember the name JP Grieve? You may be too.
That sounds familiar.
He
was
a pro wakeboarder. He skied for the University of Texas as well. And him and Camilo were good friends and on the ski team together. We started playing racquetball and working out. And I've never really, I worked out in soccer, I guess. We worked out in the gym, but I kept it up, through the even though I wasn't in high school anymore, because my daily high school routine was usually pretty ridiculous. Like, I have soccer in the morning, soccer after school, ski 5 sets in a row, and then go run 10 miles. Wow. That was a day for me. I kept that routine up, and I actually, that's probably one of the strongest I've ever been, was showing up to that tournament. I don't even know if I took practice sets. I think my dad just said, hey, you should go, just go ski. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I had no expectations, and I show up the first round. I think I tricked well. I slalomed well, and I jumped pretty damn far. Like, I was close to the overall world record wow. That first day, right? And so I celebrated that night. Not gonna lie, I celebrated, and I actually didn't feel all that great the next morning. And that's
this is the preparation for world record capability breaking. Okay.
Yeah, man. So the next morning I had to go trick and slalom, not feeling that
so
great.
you even skied before you even went out for this jump set. Wow.
No. I'm saying never mind. We won't worry about it. But yeah, I knew I was kind of on pace to break the overall record.
Okay.
And they told me I had to break the jump record to get the overall record.
Okay.
That's like, oh, okay. And I felt good the day before for not skiing, I was like, I feel pretty strong. Like, I just felt strong. I'd taken some time off and let my body heal from, a couple of years of abuse, but still kept working out. And yeah, I smashed one.
Yeah. So 233, 70.9 meters in 2000. I think it shocked the world because I remember, again, we're thinking 2000, information doesn't travel exactly the way it's traveling now. It's not like we were in the Stone Age with no internet.
No, for sure.
People are calling everybody. Did you hear what just happened at Bennett's? Jimmy knocked one out of the park. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, and you and I have talked about this before, but I think one of the motivating factors for me was some posts that were on Ball of Spray, or skifly.com, sorry, from back in the day, when you could anonymously say things. And there was, like, he's never going to be anyone. He's never going to go far. He's just going to crash all the time, and I read them and I saw them, and I was like, you know what? Watch this.
Wow.
That's just, my mentality.
And the crazy thing about it, it didn't sound like you had much training going into the tournament. You were just like physically rested. You felt strong.
Well,
Probably.
I'd done the reps, right? Like I put in the work from years before.
Sure.
So, the muscle memory didn't fade that quick. So, and dude, I still got it, man. I've been cutting and passing a little bit. Like,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah,
So you're community college, you're playing racquetball, you're doing all these things, then you go break a world record. Does that
yeah.
send you to Arizona State University? How do you get there?
Camilo went there for his MBA.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's like, hey, man, you got to come to school here. This is going to be the place for you. I was like, all right, I'm coming. Um, and man, I love that choice. I love that I went there. It is so good. We had such a cool, cohesive team. And a lot of people from our team ended up like marrying each other, and now they've got kids like the Abelsons, Jimmy Townsend, and a lot of us keep up with each other and, keep up with the coach, Dave Phillips, who just phenomenal work that guy did, like
Okay.
fundraising
Yeah.
and,
Well,
um,
well,
recruiting.
and you going to ASU really put ASU on the map. I mean, right? I mean, it's always been a good ski team, right? But
Right.
then, you recruit over Jimmy Siemers. Now it's like, okay, now they're in the national championship conversation. I'm trying to remember, I'm going off the top of my head. I think there's a video somewhere, and I think it was at Collegiate Nationals. You guys are almost jumping into the night,
Yeah.
because anybody who's skied
Right.
collegiate nationals knows that jump ins, basically
Last thing.
last thing. Was it Dane? Who
Right.
was?
You're correct. So, it got down towards like you said, I mean, it was nighttime, like the street lights were on and it was hard to see the ramp. And, um, I only took 2 jumps so I could give Dane Puxty,
Pugsy. Yeah.
yeah, his set before it got so dark that it would be, just not going to happen. Um, and then the guy beats me on his third jump.
Yeah,
uh,
well, that was an epic battle right there, and it
yeah,
was kind of cool to see that play out the way it did, because it kind of shows how close collegiate skiing is all together. That you guys were able to agree,
yeah,
like, hey, look, the sun's going down. Let's just and you
yeah.
put on a show, right? And that's what
Oh yeah,
people.
it was awesome. It
Yeah,
was awesome. And I mean, it obviously, like, since it was collegiate nationals, it's not about me. It's about the team. So if I didn't win, no big deal. I knew that we needed a score, and we had it. So I just went out, jumped, and got to go celebrate with the team.
yeah, and that was their first national championship, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
ASU wins. Jimmy Siemers goes there, and just an incredible run there from a collegiate
Yeah.
standpoint. Let's talk a little bit about that, because in collegiate skiing, you only get one pass and tricks, right? So that
Right.
plays right into your specialty of doing flips. And you
Right.
also held that record for a long time as well. Talk to us a little bit about, your flip run in college.
Yeah. I mean, that record did stick around for quite a while. Um, yeah, I mean, remember back then we were still limited. We were limited to 6 flips. I mean, I think if I'm remembering the run, like I know I made ski line 7, so that's kind of usually what bumps up. Like you're talking a lot about flips, right? And
Yeah.
for me, it was I can do all these flips, but if I can do wake 7 front and ski line 7, I can
Okay.
score more points. And yeah, so there was always that. And then throughout my trick career, certain flips got easier and faster, and then they made more sense first, and taking risk away from ski line 7 and transferring that into a flip that I think is super easy to do. But yeah, I mean, like, Bennett's, like, man, I did wake 7 front first trick.
Wow.
Like I had a crazy beginning to my run. Um,
And and
yeah, that
and, and
was
you probably don't remember this conversation, but you're the first person I ever learned that from, of really analyzing even what boat you would go behind to make sure that you would have enough time in your run. For example, if the flips or the wake was too big,
right. I
you
don't
could
like
do the
huge
flip,
wakes.
but yeah, you
Right.
run out of
I'm
time.
just wasting time. Like
Yeah.
I can do the whole run without a wake, just out in the flats. Used to be able to do my whole run. I don't need a wake. I'll make my
Wow.
own.
Put you on the
But
cable.
yeah, yeah, I've been doing a little cable riding in Mexico. I enjoy actually cable jumping. I've been
Okay.
hitting the kicker on jump skis, just kind of like doing some wild stuff off the kickers.
Very
It's
cool.
fun.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Well, and that was another thing, watching you ski throughout your career, whether it was the 7:30 in the morning jump set or it was, hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to do a flip set where I don't know, I'm just going to try whatever I think I can do in my mind.
right.
I mean, for our listeners, that people just weren't doing that. I mean, so I remember sitting on the dock and I was watching you do these things, and it might have been something like a mob front to front or something like that,
Yeah.
which now we're seeing all the time. But back then, people couldn't even put their body in the position to attempt that trick. Tell us a little bit about your mentality there. Were you trying to kind of master tricks to put them into your run, or did you just want to see what was possible to do on a trick ski?
There's certainly been an importance placed on playing. Like we figured that out pretty early. Like you need to learn how to be playful. So you see it now when Joel Poland skis. I mean, that
Right.
guy can play on a trick ski. Uh, Jake Abelson, he can play on a trick ski. They can do all sorts of weird stuff. And I mean, Jake's just doing like wake 180s. They're I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I want to try that. Like,
Well, that's
he's
interesting, and I have heard that from Joel Poland in one of his interviews that he was taught from a young age, like you take your ski rides and they're serious, but at the end of the day, for him, he would always play around on his trick ski, and obviously we see that. But you're
right.
saying that's kind of the same mentality, and maybe that helps you avoid burnout if you're doing 7, 8 sets a day.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's super important to play. I mean, you have to have your serious sets as well, right? But um, they've got to be fun. You have to
Sure.
be enjoying it. And you're not going to enjoy every set and every day and all that, but the ones that you actually accomplish things and things get done, or make it all worthwhile, and get you back to the lake again to do it again.
Yeah, sure. So it's 2000, 2001, and the kind of where we are in the timeline of your career. And your major competition is like an overall, I'm sure it's Jarrett Llewellyn.
Yeah.
Who else is around during that time? Is Patrice still
Javier was
skiing?
there.
Javier,
Javier.
okay.
Joel Wing,
Joel Wing,
Ryan Green.
Ryan Green. Yeah,
Yeah. I
okay.
mean, there's some names, and I'm sure I'm missing people. I never got to ski against Patrice. That
Okay.
that irked me. That
Because
really
he
irked
was
me.
right there on what, 95, 6, 7
Yeah, he
cutoff.
kind of
Yeah.
he kind of bowed out, and he made a comeback for a little bit, and that's when I like Camilo and I challenged him to an overall tournament. I mean, like seriously, mano y mano. Like no one has to know about it. We'll do it at McCormick's because he skied there. I like the site.
Okay.
Yeah, but he said no.
He said no. Yeah,
I just wanted to ski against him. I mean, I
sure.
think it'd be amazing.
Absolutely.
But
Well, and your main competition too on the jump ramps, Jarrett Llewellyn and Freddie Krueger.
Fred,
And
yeah,
and you're going through an interesting period in water skiing too, from a jumping perspective, because it's
ski
like,
fly,
are we going to go ski fly or are we not?
right? Ski
Right. Tell
fly.
us about that. Did you ski
Well,
fly?
I didn't. So being in Arizona, we didn't have a ramp. So that's,
Okay.
issue one. Issue two, we don't have a boat. So you would have to essentially move to Orlando to ski fly if you wanted to, partake. And I I was going to do the big air event in Arizona. It was where we had collegiate nationals. Um, and I trained just with my boat. It's like doesn't have the biggest engine that the ski fly boats have. And I put the ramp down to 5 foot and made it as long as I could to try to simulate it. Um, and it was wild, man. I was going like 250, 260, like, just the boat as fast as it would go off a 5 foot ramp. And it was
Wow.
like this little flying bullet. But the day, yeah, the day before the event, I had a news interview, and they had a helicopter above, uh, filming me take a jump set. Well, there was also a film crew in a wakeboard boat that took off the dock sideways and sent a wakeboard roller down the lake. So when
Mm,
I got to the bottom of the boat, or bottom of the ramp, I had this helicopter, you know, with wind, and then I hit wakeboard rollers, and I mean, game over. Broke my arm. I skateboarded to the hospital. Got it
Wow.
got it fixed up. But yeah, that was
That was the end of the ski fly, like attempting to go.
yeah, that was the end of the
That
ski
was
flying
it.
for me.
Yeah.
Right. And I had told the guys before, you know, everyone was kind of saying, hey, this will be safer, da da da. And I mean, we had meetings about it, and I sat there and went, guys, it's only safer because you're not cutting at it yet. Like, wait till somebody wants to go 300,
Right.
you know,
Right.
like you're all gonna get hurt, like bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's not safer. When you crash, it's gonna hurt more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Once
it's
that competition element
right,
kicks in.
right, exactly. And it did, right? Like Fred ended up boosting it. I'm pretty sure Ryan was going pretty far when he was doing it. You know, kind of, well, I won't get into that, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so you stay the course though. You're still an overall skier.
Yeah.
And the jump world record changes hands a couple of times. It looks like Freddie breaks it, Jared breaks it. You come back in 2003 and go 236, and that
Yeah.
was at the U.S. Open. Typically, you know, we don't really see world records go down at a big stage, but to
Yeah.
go do it at the U.S. Open, that's pretty special.
I know, that was cool, huh? I'm so happy that I did it with everyone there.
Yeah.
You know, it is a backyard ski site, so it's not like, you know, I wasn't out in the ocean somewhere and, you know, popped one off. But the site's great, but the fact that everyone, you know, I mean, basically everyone was there. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's
It doesn't get any
yeah,
better.
I mean, everyone got to see it.
I just noticed too, Jimmy, you know, being from the South Central region, both of those world records at Bennett's and at Lago were in the South Central region. That's really cool.
Right. I think it has I think there's something to do with humidity, like, and maybe the pressure in the air, you know, the in lower elevation and close to oceans. I think it
Okay.
has, you know, there's a correlation there with distance, because if you go around and look at world records and jump, that's typically sites like that.
Interesting. Well, and you had always worn a speed suit too, and you did, you know, you had your classic Jimmy Siemers press, you know, that basically was as aerodynamic as possible. And obviously the cover shot on the Water Skier magazine with the fist pumped up in the air and the red, white, and blue. There was a lot of time I think you probably spent into understanding the aerodynamics of jump.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you're gonna love this. My parents might not as much. So Camilo put me on the roof of his Nissan Z back in the day, and we go 80 miles an hour down Aquaplex Drive. And
No way.
Yeah, not joking, man.
So wait a minute. Are you on top of the car?
Yes.
Are you in like a speed suit, or what
Yeah,
are you
both.
doing?
Both. Like,
so you're in jump gear.
We like tested this stuff on top
No
of
way.
his Z. Yeah.
So you're going 80 miles an hour, and let's just say your classic red, white, and blue speed suit. I hope you have your helmet on. And you're like working on a jump press?
Yeah, just feeling wind and figuring out what's the most aerodynamic to where, you know, I kind of like feel like I'm falling forward a little bit.
Wow.
So yeah, we actually worked on these things.
In an age of social media, man, that would have been so viral.
Oh, dude. I know. I wish it was, you know, we had GoPros back then and people could see the stupid things we actually did.
Oh my goodness. So you're working on and off the water on the jump press. I've never heard that, by the way. That's an incredible story.
Yeah, man.
So you're at the top of your game. I mean, one thing that's interesting about the early 2000s, there just seemed to be a lot of tournaments. You know, people just skied a lot. Not to say, and I think today that what's a little bit different is the season just seems longer. I mean, it just seems to go a long time, but every weekend you were at a tournament, and you would be at either a professional event, but a lot of people were skiing record tournaments, L tournaments, and that's just the way it was. How did you keep up with that pace? Because I don't know how many tournaments you were skiing, but I would think it was like probably over 20 or 30 a year.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, especially between college tournaments and I honestly that's when I tapered off of record tournaments. So um I never chased world records. That was never a thing that I did. They just happened to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I skied very little. I'd ski maybe a little bit in Orlando, a couple tournaments here and there. If something was easily available, I'd go ski. But I certainly wasn't traveling to go to record tournaments at that point. So yeah, I mean, it was limited down to pro and college. I really focused on that through the 2000 to 2005. Kind of focused in that realm.
Okay. So when you look back during that period of time, I mean, the credentials are incredible. You're a three-time world record holder. You're a three-time world champ during this time. When you look back in that in hindsight, what was kind of your favorite memory? And it may have been a memory of just being out at the lake or one of those big tournaments.
I mean, favorite skiing memory has to be '03 Worlds because I told my dad that's what I wanted to do. Um, yeah, I mean, I told him that when I was a little kid, and it came true. Um, but yeah, man, I had to ski hard on. I ran 1.5 at 35 off. I blew my fin at 2 ball.
So you're sitting there
Oh
and
my god!
that would be like a dagger to most, right? Like
Right?
I'm
No, I mean, I
done,
was
I'm
done.
out.
I was
Yeah.
done. Game over.
So what
Done.
did you end up tricking and jumping?
I came back and yeah, 11,770, I think.
Wow.
And the world record was 11,9,
Wow.
somewhere in there. So yeah, I mean, I damn near set the world record and on a brand new ski. So I broke my toe ski the day before, like just snapped. So brand new ski, never been on it, mounted it up. And back then, it's like you had to drill the holes in.
Oh
So
yeah.
let's hope
Don't
everything's
drill it
right.
through the bottom of the ski.
Right. um Classic. So yeah, I mean, I tricked really well, and I can't remember which round was which, but yeah, 11,9, and I think another round I went 11,770.
Wow.
um yeah, I made toe line front, and I've never done that credit before. It was actually credit, and I mean, normally it was horrible, and I wasn't planning on ever getting scored, for a toe line front. So I mean, I tricked out of my mind.
And so I guess jump was the last.
Jump was last, and they told me I had to beat Jarrett, and I don't remember by how many feet, but it was like, I mean, I had to beat him, or it was like by a foot maybe, and obviously he had skied well. But yeah, I had to go 220. He went 225. I had to go somewhere in there, and I
Wow.
went 232. So,
232.
and
Where
I
did that
almost
get you on the podium in
first.
jump?
Well, no. So jump's a different event because this was the overall event.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. So it's
bifurcated out.
totally separate away, right? Separate from the individual jump final. So yeah, I went 232, which I think that would have won the regular jump final. But
Wow.
um no, I remember that jump final because this has happened to me so many times. I go out, it's a slight tailwind. And I had set myself up. I had set myself up for third place because I enjoyed, or I've found this pattern that if I'm third place and Jarrett and Freddie are after me, usually I won.
Really?
Yeah, so I had that figured out.
Was
If I
that
could go,
just because you could put pressure on the dock?
I don't know if that was it. I mean, I know now you can't scare Freddie. I don't doubt you could then either. But I would notice that if I could come in third in the prelims or fourth, that finals usually went really well for me. And I jumped far. It was a slight tailwind. Jarrett got flat conditions, and Freddie got a crosshead, and he
Okay.
footed me. That bastard. He
He
got me
footed
by a
you there.
foot. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, if
well,
you,
Freddie's done that a couple times to a
oh,
couple different people.
it's happened. Yeah, it's so frustrating.
So, but
I'm competitive. If you don't know, I like to win.
yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So you're coming off that win. I mean, that's, obviously the best memory. I mean, there's a million good memories, but if that one
Yeah.
takes the cake, what a way. I mean, and against like you're I mean, Jarrett is in his prime too. I mean,
Oh, dude, it was awesome.
you
And
guys
Jarrett,
are like,
yeah,
this is big time overall battle.
right. And we're good friends. Like, we through that whole thing, there was never animosity. I think we were both pretty excited for each other. I saw his worth ethic, he saw mine, like we had a understanding between each other who we were as people, and I'm super grateful to have him and have
Do
that
you
person
think
pushing.
so, so in your career, would you say that he was, I mean, he was obviously there was a lot of competitive overall talent, but was he the person when you would wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and take a jump set going like, that's the guy I need to be
Well,
prepared to beat?
yeah, but I guess I didn't even think. I mean, I don't think I put him in my sights. I mean, it that probably came out wrong, but I was skiing for myself, I guess. How good
Okay,
could I be?
sure,
Yeah, I get that's a
sure.
better way to say it.
Well, and the
Um,
motivation for different people is different, right? Like some people are out there because of just pure competition and like
right,
that's just what they want. And then
right,
other people are just in this competitive battle of excellence, of personal excellence. Like
right.
I just want to do the best I possibly can. And I think
Exactly,
that's the best. That's
exactly.
interesting.
That's it.
And,
Like my I didn't show up going, I'm gonna beat Jarrett. No, I went, hey
okay.
man, today I want to go as far as I can. And I want to go down and back and stomp a trick run and try not to blow my fin at 2 ball at 38. But then I'd probably blow my fin at 2 ball at
They're about
38
38.
because it always happened.
Do you think it was like in jump and trick that you knew that you could go stomp a trick run, you could go jump 230, but in slalom, was it just a mental block or
I would say so. I think on the dock, my legs would freeze up a little bit more than
okay?
other events. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think I would just try to go too hard probably half the time. It was just like trying to be too up course, and I don't, maybe we didn't know what we were doing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would like, yeah, that's a great perspective because
Yeah.
I felt that way on the dock before too. It's like I felt good all week skiing, and then all of a sudden, like I don't know, like my
Yeah.
body's
Yeah.
just like a noodle, and I don't, yeah.
Exactly.
But
And I
this
mean,
is
like through like when I was young, I used to get super nervous for everything. I mean, I wouldn't sleep the night before. It's crazy stuff. And it's cool. Like towards the end, I could be on a dock with zero nerves.
very
I
cool.
mean, just nothing. And I
Stone cold.
just right. Like and then I'll go black out. That's the craziest part is I black out a lot skiing. It was so engraved that I would, like finish a pass or get back to dock and say, hey, how'd I do? I'd have
Wow.
to ask my pinner how'd I ski, and
I,
that's
is that what surfers call the flow? I mean, they're like on
yeah,
the perfect wave right there.
right. Like I know Tiger Woods does it. Natalia Kugliavan does it.
Okay.
So I know we have that, we share that in common. Um, yeah,
Very cool.
it's a weird phenomenon.
Well, and for our slalom listeners, that's that period of time where you're an overall skier and you're trying to balance everything. You're also balancing the technology of throttle driving through the
Right,
90s to now you're
right,
getting into cruise control and then you're into, all sorts of things, generations of cruise control, generations of
right.
engines, all sorts of things. Um, it was as if in the 2000s a lot of the people were relearning how to ski on a slalom ski.
Yeah.
Did you experience that at all?
Uh, Man, I don't think it mattered to me slaloming. To be honest, I'm just gonna run my 1.5 at 38.
Oh,
No, I
you
mean,
gotta love it.
so there were a couple skis that I had that I really liked and that I'd actually run 38 on, like most of the year.
Yeah.
Because that was my pass. If I could run 38, it was a good day. But they just didn't happen at big tournaments, like I said before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk Moomba. the last
like
professional win
Moomba.
of your career. You
Yeah,
love Moomba. You love going down to Australia. Obviously, a huge venue, a huge stage. It doesn't get any bigger than that from a
yeah.
people standpoint. What was that now? How many years has that been? That
That I went
win.
there. Or how many years have it
How
been
many
going?
years since your last win when
Oh
you were at
man,
Moomba? Was that
like 4 or 5.
5 years
So,
ago?
yeah,
Something like
something
that?
like that. Yeah,
So so you're
but
down at this site. You absolutely love the venue. You go
yeah,
down there. Um, Tell us about that win, because that win basically puts into your mind, and I don't know if it was there before the tournament or not, but maybe this is a good spot to retire.
yeah. So I think I mean I've coached in Australia there, 3, 4, 5 years at that point. So for me, Moomba, I have a ton of friends, and people I work with, like little Ryan Burns, Steve Burns' dad, the Bryant family, Josh, Wayne, Suze, Michelle. Like, I mean, there's so many people down there that make that tournament flow. Um, it's just it's this spectacle year after year, and everybody knows about it. You meet people from Australia, and where do you live? Well, I live in Melbourne, and they're like, they ask why. Well, I'm here skiing Moomba. Like, oh yeah, Moomba's awesome.
Moon was awesome.
Moomba's awesome. So for me, I did not ski well. I was not ready for that tournament anyways. I think I had a couple weeks of practice, and I just scrapped something together. I squeaked through every round, doing like, not even my run, not even close to my run, and then decided just to go for it in the finals. Didn't ski well. I tricked 10K. That's not a winning score, not even close. Um, and I kind of packed up my stuff, stopped paying attention, started talking to people, and then people started saying, "Hey, you're still winning." And I'm like, "No, there's no way." Like, there's like 8 guys, 6, 7, 8 guys behind me that should all beat me. And then I started paying attention towards the end, and it's like Ace fell on something. I don't know. I think he tried to do a ski line 7. It went down. It's like, you idiot. You just have to go down the lake and back. Um, so yeah, that was my final win. And at that point, I had just thought, like, I'm done. So, and then my dad calls, and he's like, "Hey, you're qualified for Masters, right?" I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!"
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't
Got to
believe
cycle
because I
back up
did. I
and get
won.
ready.
That was
Yeah.
like that would have been a great place to just be done. Like
Yeah.
I was surrounded by a lot of people I love, and yeah.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
then I had to ski
I can
Masters.
tell you're still emotional about that win
Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, all that training. I mean, I
Well,
can't
that's
think
the
of
end of it,
anyone
right?
that,
Like,
you look back through your whole career, all the training of 7 day, 6 day, 8 day sets, running 10 miles,
yeah,
everything you had to pull
yeah,
off. And it comes to this moment, and it's like, man, this is where it needs to stop,
yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
good.
yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, I tried to get ready for Masters. That was my actual last pro tournament I skied in, was Masters. Um, a few days getting home, or not home, but back to Peru, I was doing toes, and the rope release wrapped around itself, and I did the splits
Mm,
until the rope release finally broke, or my rope broke. I can't remember which one, but I drugged for a while. Um, yeah, and now my groin really still hurts.
wow.
It's been
Wow.
like 5 years of yeah, my groin, it hurts. And then we talked earlier, yesterday, my back hurts. So I've got 6 herniated discs in my lower back, pinched nerve, and there's a certain point where I wasn't, I was kind of having to crawl to get around. I got pretty bad there for a while, so I've got to avoid skiing. It does it to me every time I go ski. I feel it.
Yeah. Well, and we talked a little bit about this the other day, and it's one of those things. I mean, you've been dominant for such a long period of time. There seems to be this expectation when Jimmy Siemers hits the water, like, oh man, he's going to go jump 220 or something like
Right,
that off no practice. And
right,
um, that's got to be very difficult because at some point, like, the amount of work it takes to cycle up to get to that mode and to
right.
that level, and it's just like the body's not going to allow me to do that.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem because I've been calling myself an off the couch athlete because I can, I mean, dude, I still got it. Like, it doesn't matter what sport it is. I'm gonna go try and I'm gonna give it my all. But even senior worlds, I had 10 jump sets in about 2 years. Went 214 on a 3/4. Um, you know, I I know I still have it. I went out, I tricked on I created the Avalon trick ski. Went out and tricked on a 41, which is way too small, and I was way too overweight. And I mean, just I felt it like, all right, I still got this.
Yeah,
But
sure.
the problem is I get home and then I ice my back and and then I hurt for a week.
Sure. Yeah, no,
So
completely understand. Well, yeah, that's a great segue right there, Jimmy, because you're wearing your
yeah,
good hat and you're designing trick skis. Tell us a little bit about that because, one of the things is, and we've learned this from a couple of our guests. I mean, when we had Chris Lapointe on, one of the things he continued to mention about slalom skis, at least, was to really design skis, you got to be able to ski on them, right? Like that's
right,
the best way to feel it. Tell
right.
us a little bit about that. I mean, I'm sure after designing these and you have the opportunity when your body's feeling good to get out there on the trick ski, that probably brings out a lot of creative manufacturing, I would think.
Right. Well, so it's for me. It started during COVID. I don't want to really bring that up, but yeah, I had a couple years where I couldn't go to Australia, I couldn't go to Peru, I couldn't go coach. So I had to pivot and shift, and I ended up buying SolidWorks like AutoCAD, and figured out, just kind of played with it, and over time I started making like 3D printing fishing lures. I 3D printed, well, I designed my house and then 3D printed it. And I'm like,
That's cool.
yeah, I mean, I'm catching bass with my own lures that I'm making. And like, it's like this cool stuff. And then, I kind of started drawing foils. You know what a foil is?
Yeah.
That's probably my new passion in life. I
It
love
takes a little
foiling,
bid of
man.
stress off the handle if you can go
Oh,
solo.
right, exactly. And I mean, I would love to. I don't know. I would love to just foil all day long, but I can't because that kind of hurts my back a little bit too with all the pumping.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I learned to draw, and then I was in Cabo with Richard Abelson, and we'd been talking about trick skis for a while. And can you hear that jet?
I can hear it. Yeah. Is it right over
Man,
your house? Or
no, I'm at
you're
the
in the
factory.
office? Oh,
Yeah,
you're in,
yeah, yeah,
all right.
yeah. They fly over F-16s, or F-18s. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, so Richard and I started coming up with some ski designs, and we had Jake in mind, and we started talking about theory over the course of kind of a couple years. We designed this ski, but then I actually had the means to draw it and create it. So I could put my ideas down on paper. Uh, so once we designed the ski, and we're essentially looking for something that was super efficient in the lake. Looking through all sorts of designs from other sports, pulling things from all realms. And then obviously we needed it manufactured. So Richard got a hold of Good and went ahead and manufactured it. And then, at the same time, they kind of went, hey, maybe he can come work for us. I'm
Very
like,
cool.
all right, that'd be cool.
And that's where you're at right now. That's where
I
you're
want to
filming.
go, right. Like, I want to go play.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
make cool things.
Very cool. So
So,
you're heavily involved in manufacturing, coming up with ideas. That's really cool to hear too that you're looking at other sports.
Right.
and seeing how those technologies potentially cross over. And so, looking forward, what, obviously you're doing that. What are some of the other things that you're going to look forward to in your future?
It seems like I'm gonna be looking forward to a lot of snowmobiling, snow skiing, hiking. No, I'm loving Utah. The winter sports are unreal.
Yeah,
Uh, I live at the lake at Good Lake, so the lake's right there. Um, I think I don't know. I am enjoying living here, but I do. They let me go home for 2 months to go home to Texas in the summer, and I'll coach there in the summer. I've got my group of kids there, and my parents next door. So it's a good opportunity for me to get to, I guess, change it up a little bit, relax a little bit, but at the same time, help the
sure.
kids around the lake ski.
It sounds like you still have a pretty strong passion to go coach.
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. And we coach here. We have I have, well, I shouldn't say that. I have one kid that comes here every once in a while. But no, we have people that ski at the lake, and I'll just hop in the boat and coach, even though, I'm not saying I'm not supposed to, but technically I guess it's not my job. But yeah, dude, if there's ever somebody skiing and I'm bored, I'm hopping in the boat.
Very
So
cool. Very cool.
yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you this one question, and that question is, I water ski because.
I don't water ski, I hurt.
As a
uh,
true Hall of Famer would say.
I think I water ski because it's a process.
Yeah,
Um, Everything's a process, and there's a lot of steps to become what I have become. It's not like I did one thing that got me here. I did a lot of things, and followed a lot of rules, and executed a plan, a
very
long-term
cool.
plan.
A long term, all the way
Very long
back to
term.
7 years old of having the vision. That's
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
Um, well, Jimmy, this has been such a cool episode. I mean, I've looked up to you for such a long period of time. I mean, you look back on your career and you look at kind of the people who paved the way, and for me watching you, it was like, oh, like maybe I could go try that flip, or you
Yeah.
almost needed somebody to kind of go show you those things were possible, and you were that guy. I mean, that was an unbelievable time to watch you go through the juniors and then break all those world records, and then
Yeah.
having a tremendous career. And I'm
No, I
so pumped up to get this published and have people listen to it because you have an
hear you.
amazing story.
No, I appreciate it. And hey, you too. You've someone should interview you. Like,
I don't know everything that I would say in my interview.
I
Maybe we'll
mean,
have you back on to interview me. How's
like,
that?
you got your twin boys, you've got your wife and a baby girl, right?
Yeah, yeah, three
And
kids.
then let's see, you worked at Bucky's,
Worked at Bucky's. And if you haven't
and
been
that
to
was
Bucky's, you got to go to a Bucky's.
right. I mean, 3 bazillion gas pumps and like the cleanest restrooms ever.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, and
what
it
did
was
you
it
do?
was cool, man. Like, where my career kind of took me was to the microphone, right? So
Yeah, it
to go
did.
to a Masters, for example, and to be able to call you for so many years and call those runs, and it's just a lot of great memories. And I always get excited, obviously, in the lineup when I see people that I've looked up to, and like here I am calling a run. So
Yeah.
I'm certainly going to miss that now that you're retired, but I
Well,
do thank you for all those
don't
years.
worry. There's kids that would be killing me right now.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
a good question. What do you think about, like, specifically trick skiing? I mean, what I'm seeing out there with these kids,
yeah,
it's
right,
unbelievable. The flips, the ski line, everything that
right.
they're doing.
I know that
Um,
that little group, right? That little core group that was fighting at Junior Worlds, dude. It's
Unbelievable.
so cool to watch. I
Very
know
cool.
it's there's truly some talent out there,
Yeah, no
but
doubt. And the sport is in really good hands, and
uh,
specifically tricking right now is just unbelievable.
yeah, it's some of the things the kids are doing, and Joel Pullen obviously is like paving the way on some of these new flips, and it's pretty cool to watch. I enjoy watching it. I'm hoping my back gets better and I can go try some of this stuff. Like the Mob Ski Line 5, I'm pretty sure I got that in like 1 or 2 tries. I think I
One
see
or
it.
two tries.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna take long.
That's
Usually if I
always
can see it,
interesting.
I can go do
Some people don't even understand that, but I've had conversations with you in the past where you'd be like, well, let me think about that. Now, okay, I think I can do it. Like you
it.
don't
Yeah.
even need to try it. You already know how your
Yeah,
body
yeah,
would
yeah.
spin into that position.
Right. Like I know where to be on the ski and when and how much pressure and it's just kind of yeah, that's it. But hey, back to your career, man. You're a
Uh,
lawyer?
yeah, I'm a lawyer. Well, the most
Yeah.
important thing I'm doing right now is I'm the host of the Hit It podcast,
Well,
interviewing Jimmy Siemers.
I mean, but also are you a partner?
Yep. Practicing law
Dang,
here in
man.
Houston and general counsel at Houston Christian University. Lot of things
Dang.
going on, but man, to still be so attached to the sport is just a
Yeah,
huge blessing for me, right? Like to
right.
come on this podcast, to interview you, to interview all the great skiers that we've had on and will have on. Man, I'm just so blessed by it.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. There's always something that will always keep me in the sport, and like for you, you found the mic. For me, it's been coaching and now designing. And honestly, I started having this thought like, I should hit every facet of the sport,
Sure.
become involved in every facet and truly have this big overall scope and knowledge of the whole thing. Like I'm kind of in design and ski building. I need to be a judge. I've judged before, but I should be a Pan Am judge. It'd be cool to design a boat.
Yeah, that would be
I mean, just hit every facet.
absolutely.
It'd be
Well,
amazing.
you're always welcome to join me on the mic. In fact, we find
Yeah.
that, Jimmy, I mean, seriously, with the amount of knowledge and the coaching and the manufacturing, I mean, listeners and viewers, that's what they want to hear. They really want to hear about, the physics involved, all sorts of things that you would bring. So anytime, maybe we could get together to jump on the mic at a tournament here this
Yeah,
summer. I
man.
don't know, but that would be super, super fun to call some tricks with you.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Well, all
Anytime.
right. Yeah, buddy, this has been an amazing podcast. So happy for you and an incredible career, man. We're all applauding you as you make your way into the Hall of Fame this year.
I appreciate it.
All
Maybe you
right.
should come up and instead of me doing a speech, you just interview me again.
Hey, we could do that. We could sit down
I
and we could
mean,
just interview.
this is more
Well,
my style anyhow.
well, yeah, this is just a practice for your speech. Now you know what to
Right.
talk about.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Jimmy. Well, signing off, man.
All right. Cheers. I appreciate it, Tyler. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right,